The Pacific Ocean, July 3rd, 1937.
On the last lap of her magnificent flight round the world by way of the equator, Miss Amelia Earhart was lost in mid-ocean. On the 2,500-mile hop to Howland Island, she was reported missing.
It's one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of all time. Where is the wreckage of Amelia Earhart's plane?
Amelia Earhart vanished on the final leg of her quest to be the first woman to fly around the world. Tonight, there are intriguing new clues about what might have happened to her.
Scientists are now preparing to set sail for the spot where they believe Amelia Earhart disappeared.
Through the years, I've been very fortunate in the type of flying I've done.
The press has been writing about Amelia Earhart for over 90 years, grabbing the attention from people all over the world. We have covered her final flight that ended in her disappearance, and examined the deep sea vision sonar image that sparked worldwide headlines. And we watched that hope vanish when it was discovered the sonar image was just a rock formation on the sea floor. But now the mystery lives on, and so does the search. A new joint expedition led by the Purdue Research Foundation and the Archaeological Legacy Institute is set to return to a place that many thought has already been searched thoroughly, Nikumaroro Island, formerly known as Gardner Island. But this time the area is focused on the island's lagoon. It all started with the satellite image. The Taraia object was first seen in 2015 after Tropical Cyclone Pam passed by the island. Storm surge hit the island and removed sediment, uncovering the Taraia object. But researchers have discovered earlier sightings of the object in old photographs and from video. In 2001, the International Group for Historic Aviation Recovery flew by the area in a helicopter. It shows the object in the same position as in the satellite image. Throughout the years, the Taraia object became harder and harder to see on satellite images, believing to be from sediment covering up the object. On November 5th, 2025, a team of researchers will head to Nikumaroro Island by boat and figure out once and for all if the Taraia object is Amelia Earhart's lost Lockheed Electra 10E. In January of 2024, Deep Sea Vision captured a sonar image deep in the Pacific that many believed showed Amelia Earhart's Lockheed Electra 10E on the sea floor. The image was incredible and closely resembled the plane, but when Deep Sea Vision returned for higher resolution images, they discovered that it was just a plane-shaped rock formation. Many are skeptical about the Taraia object. It is in an area that has been reportedly searched thoroughly, and nothing of interest was found. Others are very hopeful, believing that it is the broken up wreckage from Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan's crash landing at the island. Now, let's go over details from that day on July 2nd, 1937. They departed Miami on June 1st, 1937, and had numerous stops in South America, Africa, the Indian subcontinent, Southeast Asia. They arrived at Lae, New Guinea on June 29, 1937. At this stage, about 22,000 miles of the journey had been completed, with 7,000 miles remaining, which would be over the Pacific Ocean. July 2, 1937, at 10 a.m., Earhart and Noonan took off from Lae Airfield in the very heavily loaded Electra. Their intended destination was Howland Island, a very flat sliver of land 6,500 feet long and 1,600 feet wide. 10 feet high, 2,556 miles away. The expected flying time was 20 hours. So accounting for the 2-hour time zone difference between Lae and Howland and crossing of the international date line, the aircraft was expected to arrive at Howland the morning of the next day, July 2nd. The aircraft departed with 1,100 gallons of fuel. At 3 p.m. Lae time, Earhart reported her altitude at 10,000 feet, but that they were reducing altitude due to thick clouds. Around 5 p.m., Earhart reported her altitude at 7,000 feet and a speed of 150 knots. In preparation for the trip, the United States Coast Guard had sent the cutter Itasca to the island. The cutter offered to ferry news reporters to the island, but it also had communication and navigation functions. The plan was that the cutter would communicate with Earhart's aircraft via the radio, transmit a radio homing signal so it would make it easy to find Howland Island. The Electra expected the Itasca to transmit signals that the Electra could use as an RDF beacon to find the ship. In theory, the plane could listen for the signal while rotating the antenna. A sharp minimum indicates that the direction of the beacon. The electric equipment had failed due to a blown fuse earlier, but the fuse was replaced. As the Electra neared Howland, Earhart could hear the transmission from the Itasca on 7,500 kilohertz. She was unable to determine a minimum, so she could not determine the direction of the Itasca. Earhart was also unable to determine a minimum at Leh. Video evidence from Leh during the takeoff suggests that the antenna mounted underneath the fuselage may have been torn off from the fuel-heavy Electra during taxi or takeoff from Leh's grass runway, although no antenna was ever reported to be found at Leh. During Earhart and Noonan's approach to Howland Island, the Itasca received a strong, clear voice transmission from Earhart, identifying as KJQQ, but she was unable to hear voice transmissions from the ship. The voice transmissions from the ship would also be used by the Electra for direction finding, implying that the aircraft's direction finder was not functional. At 2:45 a.m. and just before 5 a.m. on July 2nd, the first two calls were received. They were routine, with reports stating that the weather was cloudy and overcast. The calls were broken up by static, but the aircraft was still a long distance away. 6:14 a.m., another call was received. The aircraft stated that they were within 200 miles. They requested that the ship use its direction finder to provide a bearing for the aircraft. Earhart began whistling in the microphone to provide a continual signal for them to home in on. It was at this moment when the operators on the Itasca realized that their RDF system could not be tuned to the aircraft's 3,105 kHz frequency. Radio man Leo Ballards commented that, "I was sitting there sweating blood because I couldn't do a darn thing about it." A similar call was received at 6:45 a.m. asking for a bearing. Earhart estimated they were 100 miles out. An Itasca radio log at 7:30 to 7:40 a.m. estimates Earhart on Northwest says, "Running out of gas, only half hour left, can't hear us at all. We hear and are sending a 3105 ES. 500, same time constantly." Another log at 7:42 a.m. states, "KJQQ is calling Itasca. We must be on you but cannot see you. But gas is running low. Been able to reach you by radio. We are flying at 1,000 feet. Earhart's 7:58 a.m. transmission said she could not hear the Itasca and asked them to send voice signals so she could try to take a radio bearing. The Itasca reported this as being the loudest possible signal. This indicates that Earhart and Noonan were in the immediate area. The Itasca could not send voice at that frequency she asked for. Morse code signals were sent instead. Earhart acknowledged receiving these, but said she was unable to determine their direction. Her last known transmission was at 8:43 a.m. "We are on the line 157337. We will repeat this message. We will repeat this on 6210 kilocycles. Wait." A few moments later, she was back on the same frequency, 3105 kilohertz, with the transmission that was logged as questionable. "We were running on line north and south." The transmission seemed to imply that her and Noonan believed they had reached Howland Island's charted position. This is incorrect by about 5 nautical miles. At this point, the Itasca used her oil-filled boilers to generate thick black smoke for a period of time. But Earhart and Noonan did not see the smoke. There were scattered clouds at the time, and this may have increased the problems the Electra was having. The clouds cast dark shadows on the ocean surface and may have been almost indistinguishable from the island's very flat profile. It is unknown whether any more radio signals were received after the pair were lost. If there were, it would most likely have been a weak signal. The very last voice transmission received on Howland Island said that Earhart and Noonan were flying along a line of position running north-south on 157337. Noonan would have calculated and drawn on a chart as passing through Howland Island. After Howland lost contact, many attempts were made to reach them with both voices and Morse code transmissions. Radio operators across the Pacific and the United States could have heard signals from the downed Electra. President Roosevelt had authorized a massive 2-week search to find the two flyers that cost $4 million in 1937, around $85,250,000 with inflation in 2023, the largest and most expensive search in United States history up to that point. A number of artifacts have been found on Nikumaroro Island that are very intriguing, dating back from the 1930s. Could Amelia Earhart's missing plane finally be found? Or is it just an optical illusion from the coral? Well, we will figure that out after the expedition this November. What do you think? Is it too good to be true? Or is there a chance that Amelia Earhart's plane has been at Nikumaroro this whole time, just off of the peninsula in the lagoon? Put it down in the comments. I want to thank y'all for watching, folks. I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you on the next. Peace.